Okay, Vino Adonai Eloheinu Aleinu Ma'aseh Adenu Konenanu Ma'aseh Adenu Koneu. Dedicate Shir Torah Lilu Nishmat Sarah Tziva Bat Dober Ruach Adonai Tenechena Gan Eden V'gam Nefesh Esther Bat Victoria Reina Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'gam Nefesh Chaya Bat Rezel Yenta Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'gam Nefesh Uri Ben Chasiba Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'gam Nefesh Tzvi Hirsch Ben Mordechai Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'gam Nefesh Eliezer Ben Yishayahu David Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden להבדיל בין המתים לחיים רפואה שלמה for Esther Simin Bat Sharapat El Narafalala El Narafalala El Narafalala. Okay, we got a double header. We got 2 days in a row. Baruch Hashem. Thank you for the wonderful American holidays over here.
My mother's name is Esther Victoria.
Is this for what? This is
My
for.
mother's name is also Esther Victoria.
Do we have to do a dedication or not? Okay.
I think you're dedicating it to Esther Victoria, so I have included it.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. All right, so we're going to continue on in the Shaare, Orah, the book we were learning yesterday and every Sunday, and today's Monday. Okay, we're above the line. Okay, we are in page Resh Mem Vav in the edition of Shaare Orah. That's in the thumbnail, and we're above the line. After we discussed this, after I let you know about this topic, which he talked about the Brit Milah, he talked about the Priyah, he talked about how that's a sort of Ala Dalad Nun Yud. Yes, Da ki Hashem Yitbarach Yud Kei Kvav Kei Yitbarach Ratzal LaHashlim LaAvraham Avinu Alav Hashem Bechol HaSfirot VeAmar Lo. So because God wanted to make sure that Avraham Avinu was shalem, was complete with all the sfirot represented in his body, just like we have the 10 sfirot represented by the human body. We have the Keter, which is the Gulgota, which is the skull. We have the Chokhmah, which is the right brain. We have the Binah, which is the left brain. We have the Da'at, which is the medulla or the spinal column. We have the Chesed, which is the right arm. We have the Givurah, which is the left arm. We have the Tiferet, which is the body, the torso. We have the Netzach, which is the right thigh. We have the Hod, which is the left thigh. We have the Yesod, which is the member. And now we have the Malchut, which is the member when it is circumcised. When the member is not circumcised, there's no revelation of the Malchut. Okay, and it's covered by the Orah. We discussed that yesterday, which is surrounded by the Chitzonim. It's surrounded by the forces of the Tum'ah until you remove the Orah. So because God wanted Avraham Avinu to be complete in his body, therefore, what does he do? He talech lefanai. What does it say in the Torah? Now we understand the sort of what's talking about there. He talech lefanai veheyeh tamim. Go before me, and you shall be. What does the word tamim in Hebrew mean? Perfect, or shalem, complete. And when God says he talech lefanai veheyeh tamim, what does God then command Abraham to do? Circumcise. So what the rabbi just said is the circumcision gave the shlemut, the completion to Avraham Avinu's body. And obviously not just Avraham, all of us, okay? And so that you can grab hold of my chariot. What's a chariot?
What do you mean? The Merkava? What is it?
Yeah. What is it? How's it represented in the Sfirot?
In the carriage.
How's it represented in the Sfirot?
With each of these.
Merkava is feminine, yes?
Yes.
With Merkava, you have Merkavot, right? That's right. That's what I'm trying to say. Exactly.
That's what you wanted to ask.
That's what I'm trying to ask. Exactly. Good. Now we got it. Okay. Since I want you to be nechaz bemerkava sheli, I want you to be holding on to my merkava. Ani noten roshem bibsarecha. What is a roshem? No, roshem. Roshem is a sign, a siman, a signal. Roshem.
What is the roshem about what?
The sign. What is the sign on the man's body of God, of the Yud Kei Vav Kei and the Shekhinah? It's the Brit Milah.
The head of
the Brit Milah, the end. Everything else is still the same. Nothing changes about the rest of the member. The only thing that changes is the
head.
Exactly. Baruch Hashem.
And that you have done the ripping.
Right. Ani noten roshem bivsarecha. I put a roshem in your basar, on your flesh. V'nikra brit basar, and it's called a covenant of flesh. Yes?
Yes.
Good. Ki omro, like it says, va'etena briti beni u'benecha. I will put my brit between me and between you. Uchtiv, va'yita briti bivsarchem lebrit olam. And my brit will be on your flesh forever. Who doubted that and was punished for it? Very famous individual. Why does Eliyahu Hanavi come to Brit?
Because he said that we were not doing it.
It's because it says Brit Olam. So what happened? Eliyahu Hanavi complained to God and said the Jewish people are not keeping the Brit. And maybe there were many people not keeping the Brit, but there was always a significant amount that were keeping the Brit. So therefore God said, oh, you think the Jewish people are not keeping the Brit, Eliyahu? All right, from now on, you're punished. Every single time there's a Brit Milah, you got to go. You got to go. And that's why he's the Malach Brit, because he made that mistake. Okay, that's at least one answer. He made that mistake about the Jewish people. And how do we know the Jewish people are keeping the Brit Milah? How should he have known better? Mm-hmm. It's a pasuk. Imlo briti yomam v'layla chukot shamayim va'aretz lo samti. If it's not for the covenant that's day and night, the laws of the heavens, of the nature, shamayim va'aretz lo samti, meaning, if the sun rises every day, what does that mean? The Jewish people are keeping the Brit. If the Jewish people, chas v'shalom, are not keeping either Brit Milah or Brit Torah, what happens to the world? Tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom, which means the maintenance of the world, the maintenance of the existence of the world is that small segment of the Jewish people that is shomer the Brit, through the Brit of the Torah and the Brit of the Milah. So when a Jew is not learning Torah, mevatel Torah, he's causing the destruction of the world. He didn't talk about that. Briti Yomam Valayla. What is Yomam Valayla? Day and night, which means all the time. Shabbat is not all the time. Right? Shabbat is only on Shabbat. Brit Milah is every day. Torah is the Agita Yomam Valayla, every day. So that's what it means, Yomam Valayla. Okay? Briti bivsarchem, zo brit basar, le brit olam. It's a brit olam, an everlasting covenant. Zo brit halashon. Now he brings another one. The brit of the lashon. What's the brit halashon? The tongue.
What you talk, what you say shouldn't be bad.
And what should a person be saying?
Positive stuff.
What's the most important thing a Jew should be talking about? Torah. So you see, the brit of the lashon represents the brit of the Torah. And the Brit Milah represents the Brit Milah, behaving properly with relations, yes? In the right place, at the right time, with the right person. That's the Brit Milah, okay? And the Lashon is speaking Torah. And that's why Torah Hashem beficha, right? What do we read with the Tehillim? We're going to read it in this week's parasha, Parashat Bo. It says about the Tehillim. The Torah gives us a reason we put on Tefillin. Why do we put on Tefillin? It doesn't say that. It says it more simple.
To balance your emotions.
It's a pasuk. When it says the word lema'an, when the Torah says lema'an, what does that mean? God is giving us a reason. Lema'an tiyeh Torah Hashem beficha. So the Torah Hashem should be on your mouth. That's why, for those people who put on tefillin Sharabeinu Tam, you do not take off the tefillin of Rashi while the Sefer Torah is out. The tefillin is for learning, reading, and teaching Torah. So taking off the tefillin while the Torah is out is disrespectful, and it's missing the point of the tefillin. So if a person wants to put on tefillin shel Rabbeinu Tam, he either has to do it before the Sefer Torah is taken out, or after the Sefer Torah is put back. Okay. That's called Brit Halashon, because the Torah is not there for a person just to read to themselves. What's the purpose of the Torah? Why does a person learn Torah? Okay, we have a mitzvah from the Torah to learn Torah, yes? What's the pasuk? With men, we're allowed to ask the pasuk. If it's a ladies' class, they don't have to know the pasuk, okay? Men have to know the pasuk. We have to know where it is. We have to know all the details, yes? What is the pasuk that we learn that a person is obligated to study Torah? It is in the Shema. Very good. You're ahead of the game. Now you're down to a few pisukim as opposed to a lot. Where in the V'limatem otam et benechem ledaber bam. Ooh, look what the pasuk says. And you should teach your children. Well, if you teach your children, what does that mean? You can't teach something you don't know. So the way the Torah tells you have to learn Torah is through the idea of teaching. Nowhere else in the Torah doesn't say read it. It says we learn learning Torah from that pasuk. And what do you teach your sons? Ledaber bam. What should they be speaking? Torah. That means anything else a person is speaking. Now, of course, people have to go to business and things like that, but a person is supposed to be careful with their words. Just like a person has to be careful with their zera. The Zohar has been, the rabbi here and from the Zohar, they're making a connection between the Brit HaLashon and Brit HaMa'or. Just like the Torah looks at shchvat zera levatala as a very, very serious sin, wasting seed unnecessarily, or putting seed in a place where it doesn't belong, or the wrong woman, or the wrong time, right? That's called shchvat zera. That's bad news. Now, if it's the wife, there's all kinds of halachot. There's exceptions in certain areas. Halachas, you're allowed to have relations with your wife any way you want, but the seed has to go in the right place all the time. Okay? Coming back. So just like a person has an obligation to guard their seed to make sure it's not coming out unnecessarily, a person also has to guard their mouth to make sure they're not, first of course, they can't speak things that are not allowed, like Lashon Hara, Rechilut, Motzi Shem Ra, which all not allowed, right? Dibur on Shabbat of Chol, person speaks on Shabbat about things that are not Shabbat in nature. Nishabas Gerein, right? Things that are not Shabbat in nature, okay? And not just that, some people just like to talk. That is not a mark. That's not a sign. That's not a good thing. Not a good idea. Why? Because just like seed is counted, words are counted. And some people, what happens is they're born not including Torah and things like that. They're born that they're going to say a certain amount of words that are not related to Torah or business. And what happens, God forbid, if they use up their words? They stop talking. Are there conditions? Again, I'm not criticizing anybody that had one of these, okay? Okay, a person has to look at themselves only, not somebody else. But sometimes people have a medical disease like a stroke and they can't talk anymore. The way that's looked at, the person themselves has to look. We don't look at somebody else. That's not allowed, right? The way we look at a person has a certain amount of words. And once you use up your words, once a person uses up their words, there's no more words. Wow. Limitation of how many words. So we have to recognize that it's raising the lashon, the tongue, to a very high level, right? We have Brit Milah. We understand that's very straightforward. The Torah is very clear that you can't waste seed in different places, right? We see in Breshit. Erve Onan, what happened to them? They were killed. calls them Ra. Ra, evil. Very few things the Torah says Ra. What? That is Ra. Right? And the other thing is speech. And there's a connection between Shichvat Zera Lavatala, wasting seed, and Lashon Hara. It's the same sin except with a different organ. So a person has to be measured with their words.
You need to be as careful with the semen as you are careful with
Yes. That's what we're learning from what we see over here. It's called Brit HaLashon. Right? Of course. It's much better to be a listener, except for Lashon Hara. Then it's not good to be a listener either. Okay? And the Brit of the Lashon, the covenant of the tongue, Shehu Sod HaTorah Shenimshecha Min HaBinah. Because the Brit of Lashon is the Sod of the Torah that's nimshechet from the Binah, that comes from the Binah. What does it mean it comes from the Binah? Charlie, where'd you go? What does it mean the Torah comes from the Binah? He says the Brit of the Lashon, the covenant of the tongue, is the Sod of the Torah shenimshecha min habinah. Explain Nevu.
Why not? Because he's female.
All right, we need more than that. Why does it come to Malchut? There is Torah comes to the Malchut. What Torah comes to the Malchut? The revealed oral Torah comes from the Malchut. What comes from the Tiferet? The written Torah comes from the Tiferet. What comes from the Binah? The hidden oral law, oral comes. Well, it's not. It is revealed. It's just hidden. One has to work to get it revealed. So we understand the Sod is from the Binah. It is not from the Malchut. The Malchut is Torah shebe'al peh that is revealed. So you look at Mishnah, you look at Gemara. That is all Torah shebe'al peh. That's from the Malchut. Okay, Dinah de Malchuta Dinah. What do we learn from Torah shebe'al peh Talmud? We learn what's permitted, what's not, what's allowed, what's not allowed. Dinim, judgments. That's what's learned from the oral law that is revealed. But the oral law that is not revealed, that is hidden, that comes from the Binah. And that's why the Zohar makes a distinction between the two trees in the Garden of Eden. Etz HaChaim, Etz HaDa'at Tov Hara. What is the Etz HaDa'at Tov Hara?
Knowledge of good and bad.
Can you be more better, more specific?
I mean, about
Etz HaDa'at Tov Hara.
yes.
Bad?
Good and evil, and good,
Evil?
good and not good.
How about this?
Evil and
This is how it's looked at amongst the Zohar. It looks at it like this: Asur, Mutar, Tahor, Tameh. The entire revealed oral law is there to tell you what's permitted, what's not permitted, what's kosher, what's not kosher, what's tahor, what's tameh. That's called Etz Hada'at Tov Vara. Something that is not allowed in the Torah is Ra. Something that isn't allowed in the Torah is Tov. Now, when a person is living in a situation of nitzchiyut, everlasting life, where does Isur and Heter come in?
from learning Torah.
A person, when they leave the world and they go to the world of souls, yes, their body goes in the ground and all that kind of stuff, yeah? Souls are in the Shamayim. I mean, I'm sure they're interested in all Torah, but is a practical application for them what's kosher?
No.
What's taref?
No.
There's no practical application. Why?
Because they don't eat.
They're not eating. So in the Shamayim, right, in the Gan Eden, which represents the Binah, of course, the Torah Shebe'al Peh, the Mishnah Gemara is important, but what's important is the Sod that's underneath. Just like we have Sefer Torah, we have the Chumash, we We have the Tanakh. What's important? The Pshat's important, but the Sod underneath is important. That comes from the Binah.
The sod is the cost. The cost of what we're doing is the sod.
Cause.
Cause.
Okay, fine, but but I'm saying something else here. What we're learning here is the words. We're learning here concepts that even though they look like they're completely unrelated, Lashon hara shichvat zera lavatala, right? They're related to each other. The rabbi's teaching over here from the book over here. Yes, I'm just conveying what's already written over here, 1,200, many years ago, 1,000 years ago. Okay, so we have to understand that's so and why is he saying the sod of the Torah nimshecha mina binah? What is the binah? The binah we said is what?
Hidden Torah.
What else is the binah? Tien nishmato tzura bitzror hachayim. Let his soul be bundled up in the bundle of life. What's the bundle of life? That's the binah. What is the source of life? That's the binah. Yes? Em habanim, the mother, that is the source of life. What is Chava called? Em kol chai, the mother of all living people. So the source of life is the binah. Just like the Torah, etz chayim hi lemahazikim ba. The Torah is the source of life. Therefore, of course, it's from the binah. And what's the sphira above the binah? It's the chokhmah. And the Torah is chokhmah.
Wisdom.
Correct. So we understand when the rabbi is saying here that the Torah is nimshecha mina binah. Here, what's he referring to? He's referring to kol Torah kula, but specifically the sod. Okay. Besod sfirat chamishim yom. Now he's giving you another reason why you have Sfirat HaOmer. What's happening in Sfirat HaOmer?
Well, the counting of the weeks.
7 times 7, right?
Right.
And each day is a different Sfirah,
Yes.
right? You start off with Chesed Shebechesed, then Gvura Shebechesed, right? And the next week you go to Gvura, and then until you end up with Malchut Shebemalchut, yes? What is next? When a person has the 50 Sha'arim, 49, gets into the 50th. What's the 50th Sha'ar? That's the Sha'ar of the Binah. Yes? That's what it says here. The Sod Sfirat Chamishim Yom. This is the Sod of counting 50 days. You count 49 so you can get to number 50. Right? Torah specifically says that. V'safarta lecha sheva. Right? 7 weeks, right? And then it's going to Hamishim. It's the 50th, yes? Okay. Keneged Sfirat Hamishim Shel Yovel, and also the concept of the Yovel, same idea. We have Shemitah, 7 Shmitot, then is the Yovel. Good. The Imale Shekiblu Yisrael Brit Basar, if it wasn't for the Jewish people accepting upon themselves the Brit Milah, Leolam lo zachu lekabel Torah. They would never have had the zechut to receive the Torah. That's why. What did the Jewish people do 3 days before they leave Egypt? 3 days before they leave Egypt. They go get the Korban Pesach. They go take it on the 10th, right? They take it. Mishachu Kulachem. I'm going to read that next week's parasha. Yes? They didn't do the matzah yet. Once they take the Korban Pesach, there's another step they have to do. What does Parashat Bo say? Talks about the Korban Pesach, right? What does it say? Arel lo yochal bo. A person who's uncircumcised is not allowed to eat from the Korban Pesach. So since the Jewish people took the lamb to make the Korban Pesach, 3 days before they left Egypt, they had to do circumcision, which was everyone except for Shevet Levi. Now, Moses
They were circumcised 3 days before they left.
Moses is at Har Sinai. God says to Moses, you're going to go take the Jewish people out. Moses fights for 7 days, doesn't want to go, whatever. Then finally he agrees to go, right? He's on the way to go and to pick up the Jewish people. What happens? He stops off at the hotel. And what doesn't he do? Oh, and what happens? The Midrash tells us Nachash came to swallow him up. And what happened? It swallowed him up to his Brit Milah. He was Mahul. He was born circumcised, right? Once Sipporah saw that the Nachash stopped at the Brit Milah, she recognized why the Nachash was killing him. So what did she do? She immediately circumcised her son. No Brit Milah. Moses, you're not going to take the Brit Milah seriously. You are not the one who's giving the Torah to Klal Yisrael. You're fired. God was firing Moses.
3 days circumcised.
Yes. So the next day, they circumcised. By the 15th, they were healed up. Okay? But we understand from here the Brit Milah, what does the rabbi say here? The Brit Milah is connected to receiving the Torah. Why is it that people who are not Jewish cannot learn Torah? They can learn, but they have no way to understand it because they're not circumcised. Circumcision is a necessary step to be able to receive and learn the Torah. No circumcision, no Torah. Why? You have the Brit Ma'or and you have Brit Lashon. You have to have both Brit. Okay? So if the Jewish people would not have accepted upon themselves the Brit Milah, they would not have had the zechut to receive the Torah on Har Sinai. Shehi Brit HaLashon. Because the Brit of the Torah is the Brit of the Lashon. Before they have the Brit of Lashon, they have to have the Brit Milah. Here's another reason why a child is circumcised on the 8th day. We circumcise the child before they can talk. Unlike the Muslims who circumcise a child at 13 or whatever. Some of them do, right? It's too late. Child's already talking. We want a Jewish boy to be talking Torah from the time he's a child. That requires him to have a Brit Milah.
Ishmael was 13 when
Who cares? Ishmael's not required to have a Brit Milah. No, he's the son of Abraham, so he was. But the covenant is not for Ishmael. It's not. And Ishmael was not circumcised because he doesn't have the Muslims don't do the priyah, they only do the cutting.
I thought him and Eliezer were also circumcised at
Okay,
the same time.
but now the Muslims are not doing the priyah, they're just doing the circumcision, the cutting. Therefore, that's not considered circumcision. Okay. The Zeu, now we're going to quote in one of my favorite book. The Zeu Shamru B'Sefer Yetzirah. What is Sefer Yetzirah? The book of Abraham, the book of Avraham Avinu. Well, it's not the first book. Raziel Malach is before that. There's a book of Enosh, okay, which is before that. Yeah. Okay. Enoch, third generation, grandson of Avraham Avinu, of Adam. Yes. Sefer Yetzirah, what does it say? Kishba Avraham Avinu, when Avraham came, v'bit v'chakar v'hevin v'chakak v'chashav v'alta biyado. Now, the Sefer Yetzirah, we have to understand this on the bottom, because a lot of words here. V'bit, and he observed, he saw, he stared. V'chakar, he investigated. V'hevin, he understood. V'chakak, and he established. V'chashav, and he thought. The alta biyado, and it came amongst his ability to do. Nigla elav Adon ha'olam ukrahu ohavo. Adon ha'olam, the master of the universe, was revealed to Avraham Avinu. What's this talking about? When is the first revelation of God to Abraham? No. Mistake. Wrong.
99?
No. Before 75.
70.
70. And what happens 70? Brit Ben Abitarim. Remember, we talked about Lech Lecha is not in order, right? The Brit Ben Abitarim happened first. And then he came back to the land of Israel with his family. But he originally came to the land of Israel by himself, had the Brit Ben Abitarim. And the Gemara says Avraham Avinu was the first person to call God Adon.
Yes, when he was 70.
When he was 70. Why is that important? Why is it important that Avraham Avinu was the first person to call God? Why is it important that Avraham Avinu is the first person to call God Adon? When you use the name Adonai, what is that? That is the entrance into the palace. No Aleph Daled Nun Yud, no entrance into the palace at all. The key to get in the front door is Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Avraham Avinu, that's the key. Exactly. Aleph Daled Nun Yud, that's the key. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Agid Tehilatecha, that's the key to entering the palace. No Aleph Daled Nun Yud, no key, door is locked. So Avraham Avinu came, right? V'nigla elav Adon Olam, revealed to him the master of the universe, and Avraham then called him Aleph Daled Nun Yud, master of all, Adon HaKol. That's what Adonai means. Adonai with a kamatz is master of all. Master of all. Adonai, the master of everyone, whether they realize it or not. Abraham was the only one, but he realized that this is Adonai. Who didn't realize that? Shem. He's Kohen le'el elyon. Kohen for El Elyon, the supreme power. But Shem did not call God Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Avraham was the first. Okay? And maybe that's why we can lomed zucht for Noach. What's a zuchut we can learn for Noach? Maybe he did pray for the people, but it wasn't answered. Why wasn't it answered? Because he didn't use the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud. So the Torah doesn't tell us Noach prayed or not prayed, right? Maybe he did, but it was ineffective. Why was it ineffective? Because he did not recognize or use the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Therefore, Tefillah is Aleph Daled Nun Yud. That's the beginning. Okay? And because Avraham Avinu called God Aleph Daled Nun Yud, God called him Ohavo, my beloved. The Karat Lo Brit. And he established for him a covenant at the age of 70 years old. Ben Eser etz be'ot yadav, between the 10 fingers of his hand. Zeu Brit HaLashon. What is the Brit that's between your fingers?
Between your fingers. It's a Brit between your fingers.
Mm-hmm. What's the Brit between the fingers?
Oh, the Lashon. Wow.
Uben Eser etz be'ot raglav. And what's the Brit that's between the 10 fingers of the feet? That should be pretty straightforward now. Exactly. Good. 10, 10. No coincidence. And if you want to say that Avraham Avinu was not given the mitzvah of Priya, what is Priya? The concept of peeling back. Ota hamida mamash shelo hayita v'himidat aleph daled nun yud. What is, so even if you want to say, according to some of the poskim, that Avraham Avinu did not have the concept of Priya, he only had the milah, right? Which means he didn't peel back. He only had the milah. But we already know that Avraham Avinu has the midah of Aleph Daled Nun Yud. How? Because before when the Brit Ben Abitarim, when he's 70 years old, he used the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud, so he already had that name. He didn't need to do the Priya. Of course, halachically now we do the Priya no matter what, even though we have the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud. But for those opinions that say that Avraham Avinu was not given the Priyah, he already had the Midah of Aleph Daled Nun Yud, he didn't need it. Okay? Shua Yarishon Shekaraze Hashem, as the rabbi says, because the Talmud says, because he was the first to call God by the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud. All right, let's go a little back. We're going to go below the line. Okay? Lashlim Avraham Avinu B'chol HaSfirot. This book said on the top, the Rabbi Gikatilia, that the Brit Milah was to cause there to be a shlemut, a completion, a perfection of Avraham Avinu, right? Hitalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim. Go before me and be perfect. What is be perfect? Circumcision. Ita, it's written in Masechet Nedarim. Rabbi Omer Gidola Milah. Rabbi Yudan Asi says, great is the Milah, the Brit Milah. Shekol ha-mitzvot she'asa Avraham Avinu, all the mitzvot that Avraham Avinu did, and he did many mitzvot, lo nikra shalem ad shemal. He was not called shalem, which is tamim, until when? Until he circumcised himself. Which means even though he had other mitzvot, he had hachnasat orchim, he celebrated Pesach because of the matzah, we understand that. He was a tremendous Baal Chesed, right? He brought people to the fold, to the monotheistic fold. Until he had Brit Milah, God does not call him perfect. Shalem, complete, filled. Shneimar hitalech lefanai v'yetamim. That's what it says in Masechet Nedarim. Ubi'er Rashi, and Rashi explains in Sefer Breshit, Shilifnei Shemal Haya Baal Mum. Wow. Before Avraham Avinu had the circumcision, he was blemished. He was, what's a mum? The word mum, what does that mean?
The word mum.
Mum. Mem, vav, mem. A Kohen is not allowed to have a mum. There's certain, I remember, I think it's 18, but don't quote me on that. There's a number of blemishes that if a Kohen has any of them, they are not allowed to serve. And generally, these are blemishes that are exposed. I'd have to have a look at the halakha in a while. Okay, there's certain blemish. I think if he's missing an eye, that's a blemish. Mum, right? So we understand that there are people that are born defective, physically defective, right? Now, for a regular Jew, it's a sad thing, but it doesn't prevent them from serving. A Kohen, since they're a representative of all Klal Yisrael, it's not appropriate to put someone who was blemished as a representative of Klal Yisrael, right? It doesn't, nothing against the person as an individual, but how can it be a representative of the Klal if he is damaged, physically damaged, right? That's a mum. Avraham Avinu was a Baal mum until he had Brit Milah. That's what it says here. That's what Rashi is saying, that until Abraham was circumcised,
He was not complete.
he had a mum, not just not complete, he had a blemish.
That's
Heavy. And through the Brit Milah, the mum is removed.
So all Israel was mum before the Brit.
Let's just look. This is what he says about Abraham. He didn't say that Am Yisrael yet. Let's continue on before we say that. Abraham Aminu, it says, Hitalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim, go before me and be perfect, be shalem, which means Abraham Avinu had a mum on his body called the Orah, and until he removed the Orah, he was damaged, he was blemished. The Katav Zohar, and it's written in the Zohar. The Ta Hazeh, come and, what is Hazeh? Come and see. We'll discuss this again for the new people, or maybe Charlie knows. What's the difference between when you study Talmud and you study Zohar? In the Talmud, it says, Ta Shema, come and hear. In the Zohar, it says, Ta Hazeh, come and see. What's the difference?
See is song.
Okay, let's get a little more. What about Shema? Shema implies understanding. Right? Understanding. There are things of the sod that are not understandable. Okay, and that doesn't mean everything in the nigla is understandable. If a person works at it and goes to the right person and asks the right questions, it can be understood. But there are things in the sod that are not understandable to any human being, including Moses. That's why it doesn't say Tashema, because many things don't lend themselves to understanding. They lend themselves to visualization. I see it. I may not understand it, but I see it. I can perceive it. I don't understand, but I perceive it.
But your neshama doesn't understand.
No, there are certain things your neshama does not understand. There are certain things that a limited, finite being cannot understand. Infinity, Yud Ke Vav Ke. We cannot understand that.
The neshama is not in-
No, how?
Because we are made in Hashem's image and likeness.
It's the creation.
Okay, but that doesn't mean we are God.
God is infinite. God
We
is
are
infinite.
created. God is not created.
There's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference. The tzimtzum, that's the beginning, right? We have a beginning. This God has no beginning and no end. Yes, so therefore, we cannot understand things that are infinite, that are borderless. That's why the first step is the tzimtzum. What's the tzimtzum? We've talked about this before. In order to create limited beings, the first thing that had to be brought into the world is the concept of limitation. Before the world was created, in God's world, there is no concept of limitation. Or to understand it better, hear what I'm saying now? There is limitation, but it's nullified. So the concept of limitation existed, but it was nullified in the infinity that is the Ein Sof. What does God do? He allows the limitation to be manifested by retracting his Ein Sof. That's the entire, we just discussed it, Tzimtzum. And that's the concept of limitation. Without the concept of limitation, there is no world, no created world. Okay? Run that around your head a little bit, okay?
Great. Yeah, so cool.
This is amazing stuff.
Coolest thing in the world.
Okay? So v'tahazeh, come and perceive. Come and see. Come and imagine. Not everything you imagine, you understand. And you can accept that you can't understand it. But I imagine, I see it. I have the zechut to see it. Dela itkere Avraham shalim b'hai chesed. Avraham, even though he had all this chesed, all this loving kindness, he's not called shalim. He's not called perfect. He's not called complete. Ad itgalya yod de'imah. Until the yod of the imah was revealed. I'm sorry. Yod de'amah. Sorry about that. Yod de'amah, not imah. The yod in the amah. What's the amah? The member. The limb. Amah in Hebrew is a limb. Right? Amah. Which limb we talk? Limb. Which amah are we talking about? The membership. The member. The Brit Milah. So until the yod was exposed, so now we understand there is no way, according to the Zohar, that Avraham Avinu did not do Pri'ah. Because what does it say? Adi itgaliya yod da'amah. There was a revelation, there was an exposure of the yod. That's called Pri'ah. So when he would answer before, those are the people who say that Avraham didn't have a Pri'ah, because there's some opinions like that. I don't think that's the opinion of the Zohar based on the wording here. Let's continue on. And once the Yod, which is the Atara, was revealed, Ikre Shalim, he's called perfect. Haha Demar, like it says, Hitalech lefanai v'yetamim. That's the Zohar. Okay? The Akavana. Now let's get this a little deeper now. Kodem Shemal, Before Avraham Avinu had the Brit Milah, Haya Arel v'Satum. He was Arel, which means uncircumcised, and Satum. What is Satum? Closed.
Satum.
Satum, closed.
Why do we need to know that? Close. Close what?
Come on, you can answer that question yourself. We just said that a Jew that's not circumcised can't understand the Torah, can't study Torah, can't absorb the Torah. The circumcision allows the person to be open.
Now I got it.
Now you got it.
Thank you very much.
Anytime. V'lo he'iru bo harat esa sfirot, and the sfirot did not shine. The sfirot shine through what sfirah? The exposure of the sfirot to the lower world is through what sfirah?
Yesod.
No, Malchut. The prophets, let's do this again. This concept of aspaklaria, translated as spectacle. What's a spectacle? In the olden days, before we had eyeglasses, someone would wear like a spectacle, right? That's how you're able to see things, right? A spectacle is a lens that allows you to see things. It's microscopic, right? That's a spectacle, okay? Aspaklaria me'ira, aspaklaria lo me'ira. The spectacle, the lens can be cloudy or the lens can be clear. There's only one prophet that saw through a clear lens. His name was Moses. All the other prophets saw everything through a cloudy lens. And depending on the level of the prophet, that's how cloudy the lens was. And that's why Moses uses the term Zeh hadavar. What is Zeh hadavar? This is the thing, which means I see it exactly as it is. The prophets, what do they say? Ko amar. This is like what God said. Why like? Because they're seeing through a cloudy lens. What's the lens? The lens is the Malchut, which means all the prophets have the revelation of what's going on in the upper Sfirot through the Malchut. The difference is whether it's a clear lens or a cloudy lens. Well, it depends. You see something. A person with a cataract, they don't see nothing. They see something. They may not be able to read, but they can see light. There are people completely blind. They see nothing. Right? So we understand that the lens could be cloudy, but it doesn't have to be opaque. So the Malchut is actually how the prophets see everything, through the Malchut. That's how they perceive everything going on in the upper worlds. Okay? Before he had a Brit Milah, he was Arel, he was uncircumcised, and Satum, closed, which means closed. What he can't. And the upper Sfirot did not shine to him. They shine through the Malchut. He didn't have the perfection of the Malchut yet. Therefore, and let me ask a question. Which one of the Sfirot are we responsible for perfecting? Of course. That's the one that's empty. Aniyah v'daliyah. She's empty. She could be filled from above. She could be filled from below. But she needs to be filled.
That's our job.
Yes. K'moshe bi'er haramak. Rav Moshe Cordovero. Who's Rav Moshe Cordovero? The teacher of the Arizal. In what book? Sefer Elima. Maybe by the time I'm older, I'll be able to read that book and understand it. Without a Perush, I'm probably never going to be able to get that one. I mean, first of all, another book. There's another book he wrote called Pardes Rimonim. That in and of itself is not an easy book to understand, right? And then you have Sefer Elima. Okay. One day, please, Hashem, when we finish this book, maybe we'll do Ramak and then we'll do Elima. Okay. Ha'orlah hu lashon otem v'stuma. The word orlah, it's a lashon, it's a language of closed and sealed. Orah. Let's see how he says that. Ki'en omro, like Moses said, Va'ani aral sifatayim. What is Moses saying when he's saying, I am uncircumcised in my lips? What's he trying to say? My mouth is closed. I can't speak in front of the king. So what does God do? All right, your mouth is closed, but Aaron's mouth is not closed. So you'll be Elohim for him. You'll be his, not God, but leader, person, and he will speak on your behalf.
How come Moshe didn't circumcise his mouth?
He was born that way. Or he had, the Midrash says he was burned because of a test that happened with Paro that he became burned. Right.
Why didn't Hashem make a miracle to cure him?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that. We see afterwards that Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't have the problem anymore. It goes away.
When?
Okay, let's think about that. When did it go away? Moses doesn't have any problem speaking.
It doesn't say it goes away.
It doesn't ever say again that he can't speak. Who teaches Klal Yisrael? Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Okay, but I'm sorry. Most common pasuk in the Torah is Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Aaron is added, 20% of the time? Most of the time, God is speaking to Moses, then Moses is saying it over to the people. So that clearly his speech impediment improved. When?
After the Torah.
When did everybody's ailments improve? Before Matan Torah. When did everybody's ailment improve? At Kriyat Yamsuf. People who are blind, they got their vision.
Even
people who couldn't walk were able to walk. Why? Oh, this is good. Why were the Jewish people healed? Because the whole purpose of Egypt was to experience Kriyat Yamsuf. Prove to me that from the beginning, the goal is for the Jewish people to experience Kriyat Yamsuf.
Why not Matan Torah?
Prove to me that the goal of the Jewish people was to experience. Stop. That's not proving nothing or anything.
I'm trying to give you a pasuk to prove it.
It's the wrong pasuk.
Wrong pasuk. Okay.
Go get your chumash. There's another pasuk. We're missing a very important fact. We learned it in last week's parasha if you paid attention clearly. Moses goes to Pharaoh. What is he asking for? Shalach et ami 3 days. What does Moshe Rabbeinu tell Pharaoh? We want to go 3 days in the desert. Pharaoh says, no, do the sacrifice right here. Do the sacrifice ba'aretz. Do it right here. Moses says, we can't do it here. If we do it here, we're going to sacrifice the god of Egypt, which is the lamb, and they're going to stone us. So Moses says we have to go 3 days into the desert. What's he getting Paro to think? We shalach et ami ve'avduni. We're going to go 3 days in the desert. And then what's going to happen? We're going to come back. Who's telling Moses to say this? God. God wants Paro to think what? They're going to go 3. That's why he initially says, by the way, just go with the old people. Moses says, no, we got to go with everybody. If you just bring your sacrifice and coming back, you can leave the young people, leave the children. Moses says, no, the children have to see, they have to learn too. That's the answer he gives, which means Paro is left with the impression, as of all the Egyptians, that what? Freeing the Jewish people, they're going to come right back. Mejnun, who would do that? Why is God doing that?
That's the only way they're going to let him them out.
Vayugad lemelech Mitzrayim ki bara ha'am. Wait a minute. What do you mean it was told to Pharaoh that the nation ran away? You sent them out. What kind of nonsense is this? You send them out, you change your mind? That's not what it says. He waited. He sent people to go with the Jewish people. And on day number 4, they kept walking. So what they do, these people came back to Pharaoh and they told him, by the way, you think they're coming back. They're not. They keep going. It's 3 days. They were 4. They passed the mile mark. Vayugad lemelech Mitzrayim ki bara ha'am. What does it mean, bara ha'am? They're running away. They're not coming back. And that's when, what does Pharaoh do? He gathers all of his army and his chariots and all that kind of stuff, and he chases after them. What's the whole point? To bring the Egyptians to the water. Why? Why do the Egyptians have to drown in the water?
Because that is midah keneged midah.
They caused the drowning of the Jewish babies. And why did Paro consider drowning as the punishment for the babies? Why didn't he just cut off their heads? No. That's why he wanted to kill the Jewish people. Why did he decide to throw them into the Orah? First, he didn't want to do it himself. He wanted the Mialadot to do it. This way he could wash his hands. It's not me, it's them. They wouldn't do it. So the next thing he says, all the boys that are born, la Orah tashlichuhu, throw him into the Nile. Why are they throwing him into the Nile? Why did Paro come up with the idea to throw the Jewish babies into the water and drown them? Because he was of the mistake that Noach was promised that God will never bring a flood on the world again. Let's outsmart God. That's what Rashi says. Let's outsmart God. How? We got to kill the Jewish people. Let's kill them. You know that God punishes midah keneged midah, measure for measure. We're going to drown the children, and God promised he's not going to bring a flood. Even though God promised he's not going to bring a flood on the whole world, he didn't guarantee he's not going to bring a flood in Indonesia. He didn't guarantee he's not going to bring a flood on the. But God says, okay, you won't play with me. I'm going to show you how it goes, okay? I'm not going to have you're going to go to where the flood is, which means he found them. Think about imagine here. They happened to find themselves on the bottom of Yam Suf. What does God do? He just lets the water come back to where it was before. They went to the flood. God didn't bring the flood to them. They went to the flood. All the Jewish people had to see that. All the blind ones, the lame ones, they all had to witness that. Why? What did all the Jewish people do after they witnessed the destruction of Egypt?
Okay, so
You said it, but you didn't go to the next pasuk. Az yashir Moshe ubnei Yisrael. What did they do? They sang. They sang Shirat Hayam.
So they would have that little.
Chizkiyahu was not the Mashiach because he didn't sing. Chizkiyahu, King Chizkiyahu, the Gemara says, was worthy to be Mashiach after all of Sancherib's army was killed on Erev Pesach, by the way, in Pesach. But because he woke up the next day and didn't sing and didn't cause the Jewish people to sing, he lost the ability to be Mashiach, which means redemption, part of redemption is singing.
that's what the IDF does.
No.
They have a.
They sing.
Let me throw this out there for everybody to think about a little bit. I think I mentioned it on Tuesday in my class, Wednesday in my class in Bet Midrash Faradim. After 3,500 years of exile and suffering, we are experts in saying Tehillim for tragedies. Experts. How long does it take for the congregation to slap the thing. We're going to say a kapitel, 1 or 2 of Tehillim, Shira Ma'alot Me'anya Bo'ezri, right? We're experts at that because we've had so many tragedies. Why aren't we experts at singing for the happy things?
After the 6-Day War.
Rosh Chodesh. What is Hallel called? Hallel has a word in the Mishnah. One word. It's not called Hallel. Shira. How are you not singing?
How are you not singing this morning?
How we did?
Only one thing.
No, we sung the entire. First of all, you say the words. No, you sing the words. Tefillah is supposed to be with song. It just so happens on Shabbat and Yom Tov, we spend more time in Tefillah singing. Tefillah every day should be with a tune, not makam kvetch. That's not prayer. You are standing before God. God has asked you to pray. Why? We're worthless. He wants us to pray. That's all I know. I'm going to stand up before him and not sing? We have to bring ourselves to sing. They're called Pesukei de Zimra. What does Pesukei de Zimra mean?
Verses of song.
Verses of song. Where's the song on Tuesday? The Tehillim have a tune. Sing it with a song. Again, you can still go fast.
Up-tempo.
But where's the tune? Where's the tune? We're so accustomed. We want the temple. Yes, we want the temple. What happens in the temple? There's song. There's music. What? I know there's a shul in Yerushalayim because I get the videos. Okay? My rabbi's son. On Rosh Chodesh, they bring instruments. In the morning? Don't tell me Hilula after hours.
No. I'm talking about. We had a couple times. Musical help.
I haven't. Okay.
Are you talking about the shul that's in the It's in a Martef.
I don't know where it is. It could be. I don't know.
What was this king's name one more time?
Chizkiah. Hezekiah. That's his name in English. Hezekiah. We need to be singing more. We need to be singing with our prayer. Kriyat Shema. What is Kriyat Shema? It's called Kriyat Shema. What is Kriyat Shema? Reading. Meaning what?
Reading, leaning.
Laning.
Kriya.
Not reading. No. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבביך בכל נפשך בכל מאודיך. It's supposed to be sung. You could do it fast, but you have to sing it. So I know. That's why when he asked me Chazan this morning, I said yes. Rosh Chodesh? Yes. Okay, we're good. All right. And think about Nakdi Shaf and Aritzach. Why are we not singing that? We should. It's Rosh Chodesh. Chol HaMoed. We should be singing. Right?
In the Mishnah, it says that Hallel is Shira.
Shira. Chizkiyahu did not say Hallel. Because Chizkiah did not say Hallel.
He was in the Mashiach.
Now, as Yashir, what is Yashir?
Sing in the future.
Then they will sing. This is a premonition for the future. You want the redemption? You got to learn to sing, buddy. And that's why that experience of song, that's key, because that denotes happiness. And the rina, that's lev, that's heart. Service to God should not be routine. And we're all guilty of this, including me. Service to God has to be with simcha, with happiness. Pasuk. Tahata shelo avadete et Adonai Elohecha besimcha v'tuv levav. Because you didn't worship, Jewish people didn't worship God with happiness and a good heart, this is why all the klalot at Ki Tavo happen. Even in Parashat Bechukotai, why do the klalot and Bechukotai happen? because we go with God cold. Oh, you're doing the mitzvahs? We're doing them all cold? Oh, great, you're doing the mitzvahs. You do them cold? You do them like you did it yesterday and the day before? That's not what I'm looking for. Thank you very much. Trouble's coming your way. Which means we have to start learning to sing, especially in the happy times, not just weddings and bar mitzvahs and stuff like that. We should be singing. Maybe that's what's missing for the redemption. That's the avodah. That's the service that's missing for the redemption.
So you would do halal on Yom Ha'atzmaut?
A separate issue. Don't get me politically trouble. Okay. We know we say Hallel on Rosh Chodesh. We should be singing Hallel. You don't want to have musical instruments? Fine. You don't need musical, but you should be singing. Okay. Let's continue on. I don't know how we got to that. Oh, and that's why everybody was healed. So Moses was healed when everybody else was healed. His Aral Sfatayim ended when? Kriyat Yam Suf. Moses doesn't have a problem speaking ever after that.
Or singing.
What?
Because he sings Azinu.
He sings Ha'azinu, Yashir Moshe Uvnei Yisrael. Moses was singing too. What happened to his Aral Sfatayim? Healed.
After crossing the Yam Suf, everybody has healed. So was he.
I'll give you another idea. When I think about this, roll this around your head for a little bit. Wow, it's a nice connection. It says about Abraham. The Avraham zaken ba bayamim v'Adonai berach et Avraham bakol. And Abraham was old, right? Coming in days, and God blessed him with everything. There's a machloket in the Gemara, different opinions. What does it mean, everything? One opinion says he had a son. Another opinion says he had a girl. Another opinion says he didn't have a girl. And then there's the fourth opinion, that of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. What does he say? Avraham Avinu had an amulet.
What?
An amulet with a special stone in it. And any time a person was sick, they would come to look at the amulet and they would be healed.
That's it. Just like the snake.
Just looking at the snake is a different. There's an amulet. Now, it's discussed. What was that stone? Sohar tasela teva. By Noah, how he's got a teva. The window, it's not a window with glass. There's no glass in Noah's time, right? So the windows are basic. There's no windows. The only window is a teva. There's a piece of wood that he opens up like this, and that lets the light in. When the storm was raging, the wood is closed. The window is closed. Otherwise, the water comes inside. So there's a big problem. You got 3 floors over there. Inside, they got to be inside because they're going to get soaking wet from the outside, right? So what does that mean? How they see anything going on? Sohar tasela teva. So there's an idea that says it was a stone that had a shine to it. And that shine, he put mirrors in certain ways in the teva, and that's how he was able to see in all 3 levels because of the stone shining inside and all the mirrors set up. So the light was everywhere inside the teva. That's foolish. That stone was made into an amulet, and that's why Avraham Avinu would heal people. What does Sohar mean? Sun. When is it called the Sohar? In the afternoon. Specifically, Sahoraim is what? After Chatzot. Where generally, and certainly in the right time of the year, the sun is at its strongest or highest level when it's straight up. That's called Chatzot, certainly in the equinox, right? That's when it's shining the brightest.
Zohar is shining.
Sohar and Zohar.
Zohar is a type of shine. That's correct. There's a whole discussion of why a book is called Sefer Zohar. The maskilim yazhiru kizohar harakia, it says. So what does that mean? When a person studies Torah, when a person studies Sod, they have a light on the inside. That's called Zohar. And when that light shines on the outside, that has healing powers. There's the easy, cheap medicine that's good for the patient, that's good for the doctor, and good for everybody there. It's called a smile. When a person smiles, it lights up their face. Simcha has a healing power. That's what we're learning here. One of the criteria for a prophet to be able to see through the aspaklaria is what? Yaakov Avinu was a great man. Yosef is not around anymore. He thinks Yosef, he knows Yosef is alive, but doesn't know what's happening to him. So he's upset. He's crying. He's in avelut. He's mourning. Yaakov Avinu loses the Shekhinah for 21 years. Why? Because he wasn't able to smile. One of the keys to prophecy is simcha. A person is not sameach, they can't be prophet. They can't. And let's understand, what's prophecy? It's high-level communication with God. What's lower-level communication with God? Tefillah. Therefore, in tefillah, a person has to be sameach. Prayer, you want it to be answered? That's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. You have to be sameach. And how does a person show themselves happy? They show themselves happy with song, music, instruments, dance, animation,
And
smiling. So when a person's praying, you can, it's okay. Amidah, maybe not. Amidah, a person should say it still. There's all kinds of called madadaka. But while a person's saying the hallelujah, you should be animated. All right, let's continue. I think I made the point.
Yeah.
Made the point? Okay. Therefore, above, the sfirot are going to be closed. Why? Because they can't be exposed to the malchut. And the reason why that happens is because there are chitzonim, there are external forces that basically shoagim lataref. What is shoagim lataref? Roaring to tear apart. Which means when we allow the chitzonim to be surrounding that's the problem when the person doesn't have a brit milah. What did he say before? The chitzonim, the external forces are surrounding the yesod. Therefore, there's no exposure of the member, there's no exposure of the malchut, therefore it's said. Therefore, there's no abundance from above, chas v'shalom. Levakesh me'el ochlam, which means they're requiring their food. That's the pasuk. Shoagim lataref ulavakesh me'el ochlam. The hachratat ha'orla, removing the orla, cutting off the orla. Husod ha'avarat ha'chitzonim umisham petichat ha'makor. Wow. That's the removal of the chitzonim and the opening of the makor. What's the makor? In the Torah, what is makor used for?
The beginning.
Makor is the beginning. It's used in the pasuk. Give me chumash.
Like the origin.
Yeah, origin. That's great. Origin. Show me the pasuk, Mr. Balkore.
I need a glossary for concordance. Ah. Makor Vrata? Oh, okay.
Thank you for being here, Aviv.
Galita.
ואיש אשר ישכב את אישה דבה וגילת ערוותה את מקורה הארה The Hugalata, this is Leviticus chapter 20, verse number 18. I want to read it. A little song over here. I say Leviticus chapter 20, verse number 18. 1 second, 20. You're in the right place. There you go. Verse number. ואיש אשר ישכב את אישה דבר, וגילה את ערוותה, את מקורה הארה, והיא גילתה את מקור דמיה, ונכרתו שניהם מקרב עמם. It's talking about a man sleeping and having relations with a nidah. What's the problem? What does the pasuk say? A man who sleeps with a woman that is a nidah, menstruating, right? Impure from menstruation. And he revealed her hidden area. He exposed her makor. What makor? The makor of the dam. That's what it says here. And she revealed the source of her blood. And they get karet. So now go back what he just said. Misham petichat hamakor, right? So removing the orlah is the opening of the makor. So we have a makor in a woman. In a man, what's the makor? The source of the seed. The meatus. No, the meatus, the little hole. Okay? Where no, it's called urethra, but it's on the inside. On the outside, it's called the meatus. So that's where the urine comes out, but that's where the seed comes out. That's called the makor, the source of the zera. For a woman, the makor is her uterus. That's where the blood. Okay? Let's think about it another way. What's a zav and what's a zava?
Zav is for a man, zav is for a woman.
So what's a zav? A man who has a
Emission.
seminal emission, not when he is erect. That's the definition of a zav. A zav is a man who has a seminal emission or emission from the penis, right? When he is not erect. When a man has a emission when he's erect, that's called relations. That's not a zav. That's keri, okay? But here, this is called the relations when even a person, God forbid, has a dream at night. It's baal keri, it's keri, but he's got an erection. When a man has a emission without an erection, that's called zav.
How's that possible?
Disease.
Oh, like gonorrhea.
Okay, well,
But that
I'm
was
not sure the
ancient.
zav of ancient history is the gonorrhea of today.
Okay.
Okay, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Okay, but then you have a woman. What's a zava? It's not gonorrhea.
When she's emitting, when it's on her menstrual cycle.
Blood, not
Not
during the
during-
time of her menstrual cycle.
Infection.
No, not necessarily. Blood during the time that's not her menstrual cycle. It could be cancer, it could be lots of things, okay? So we see that's called makor, the makor of the dam. So the Torah says makor damea, the source of her blood. So we see the word here is used makor. Sham petichat makor, the opening of the makor. The chitzonim are surrounding the makor because they want to prevent holy children from being born, holy zera. Once there's a brit milah, now holy zera can basically be born, come out. The kavanato shekol od adam davuk b'chitzonim. As long as the person is still attached, remember the orlah is attached, it has to be cut off. It can't just be rubbed off, it's got to be cut off. As long as the person is attached to the chitzonim, ubekochot hara, and to the forces of evil, nistama shefa elyon, the abundance from above is stopped, is cut off. Velo me'ir benishmato, and it's not shining in his neshama. Because what's going to happen if you allow the shefa to come out from above, then the chitzonim are going to use it.
It's gonna come above when the chitzonim are davut to you.
Yes.
I thought
That's-
if the chitzonim are davut to you, you're not gonna get shefa from above.
It's telling you why you don't get shefa from above. Because if there were
Oh, because
chef,
it's gonna come down and used by the. It's gonna be used by the side
that's it.
team.
Side team. Very good. The rak kishimisalek kochot hara, only when he removes the forces of evil, mimenu, niftacha satum, then what is closed is now open, which means a shefa from Shemayim. Umeir bo ot yod, and the ot of yod, the ot yod is shining in it. Shehi keneget sirata chokhmah. That's why no brit milah, no Torah. Or haneshama hakdosha v'naasa kashur b'chol asfirot kulam. And that's from the chokhmah, which comes through the binah. Okay, so we see the chashivut of the brit milah. And why is shichvat zera in the Torah called ra? Because Er and Onan had brit milah. And when they wasted seed, that allowed shefa to go to the chitzonim. So what does God do? He kills them. Okay. Next. You have to go, Charlie. I told you, it's gonna my job to make it difficult for you to leave. That's my job. If I'm doing that, I'm doing my job.
Get better at it.
Hitalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim. Go before me and be perfect. That's what it says about Abraham. No, Noach is et ha'elohim hitalech Noach, right? Bi'er b'sfat emet. In the sfat emet, what does it say? Al pasuk hitalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim. Go before me and be perfect. Ki hine al yidei ha'orla en haneshama me'ira ba'adam. By the way of the orla, when chas v'shalom a Jew has orla, then the neshama, which comes from the binah, does not have the ability to shine inside the person. Ube hasarata orla, when you remove the orla, haneshama me'ira ba'adam, and that's why we don't name a boy until the brit milah, because the neshama cannot shine until the orla is removed. The golel choshech mipnei or, right? And what happens? You take away the choshech and you reveal the light. The az nikra tamim, and then the boy is called tamim. That's why. What does the Zohar say? As soon as a boy had a circumcision, nikra tzadik. He's called a tzadik.
He has no oven.
And he has a huge mitzvah.
Oh.
The katav od sham, and he also wrote there, shoresh ever hamilah hu achemda ve'tava. What is the purpose of the ever of the milah? Ta'ava and chemda, desire and temptation. That's what it's for.
The purpose is procreation.
Yeah.
Okay, procreation doesn't happen unless there is chemda and ta'ava. How?
How did you say it last week when there was the high level
High level,
individual?
the man still has to have some excitement, but the excitement is all to give pleasure to his wife, nothing for himself. That's a high level. Very, very high level.
So you're saying he takes the desire and the chemda and brings it over to.
It's all for her.
Okay. But it still starts with you still need the catalyst of the chemda.
Okay.
And the tava.
Right, but the tavas, in order for her to have, to have pleasure, he has to get his stuff going, right? V'natan lanu hakadosh baruch hu mitzvat milah le'asir ha'olah, and God gave us the mitzvah of the milah to remove the orlah, u'lema'et ta'ava hagashmit, and the purpose of the orlah is to teach you a lesson. What's the lesson? To lower the ta'ava. Lefi tikun haguf, according to that's the correction of the male body. Kach me'ira ta'ava hapnimit. Then there's an inner desire that simon leTorah mitzvot, for Torah mitzvot.
Thirst for Torah.
How we see that connected? What is the onah of a Talmid Chacham?
Once a week on Friday night, according.
Why?
Well, Friday night is when.
No. Why is he limited? Why is it once a week as opposed to every day?
Well, he's studying Torah.
So
It would be too much for him. He has to let him eat.
he becomes weak. Torah weakens the ever.
So right. So the more you feed it, the more hungry it's going to get. So it's going to get hungry. It's going to be hungry. So he's got to make it starve out while his hunger for Torah is increasing.
Pagata menuval hazot. A person comes into contact with desire and temptation for a woman that's not his or his wife when it's not the right time. Moshchehu lebet hamidrash. Schlep him to the bet midrash. Because what happens when a person starts learning Torah? They forget about all their desires.
Yeah, right.
Isn't it? I mean, it's hard to have a minyan here and people stay for a Torah shiur without breakfast. Okay, we haven't had breakfast in this class in ever. And we spent 2.5 and 3 hours here learning and there's no breakfast, maybe a little bit of coffee and that's about it. Why? Sure, but we know why we don't really need it. You want to get breakfast, I got no problem with that. But why you don't need it? Because right now you're giving your neshama the food that it really needs, not the breakfast. The breakfast is there just, to give to give the Yetzer Hara something to do while you're learning.
That's the Shaare Mishtaleach.
But that's the Shaare Mishtaleach. Very good. Same idea. But really, when a person is studying this sod, your neshama is getting such a full course, your body forgets about eating.
I'll tell you, you're literally right, because I was starving at the beginning of this, and I'm no longer that hungry. I mean, literally.
So we see that the Torah is the tavlin for the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is, if you give the Yetzer Hara attention, you're not going to win. The more you give it attention, the more you're going to be his captive. Okay? The only way to be successful against the Yetzer Hara is Torah mitzvot ma'asim tovim, but specifically Torah. And what type of Torah? This type of Torah. This takes you right out of there. And that's why it says in the Talmud, if a person is overcome with desire, first thing you do is start learning Torah. And what if a person is learning Torah and he's not matzliach? Because Torah sometimes requires a lot of concentration. And maybe he's not focused and he's still focused on something he shouldn't be focused on. Then focus on the Kriyat Shema. Why the Kriyat Shema? Because that's something you know it by heart, it's Shigura. You start singing it and you forget about the Yetzer Hara. And that's why Kriyat Shema is called Cherev Pipiyot Beyadam. That's what it says in Masechet Brachot. A sword, a double-edged sword in your hand. And what does that double-edged sword do when a person is saying Kriyat Shema? It kills all the things that are around you, the chitzonim. It prevents you from getting damaged. Because when a person is focused on the Kriyat Shema, especially if he's singing it like he usually does, you lose your desire and temptation. And what if even that's not enough? Let's say a person, even if he's saying Kriyat Shema, can't stop thinking about this woman. That's not for him. No. Think about the day of the death. And who the friends are in the grave. And if that doesn't take away the desire, you're in a lot of trouble. And that will always work. Always. Question is, do you want to use it? That's the question, right? So we see Torah, Kriyat Shema, thinking about the day of the death. Or who are the friends in the grave. Okay? Okay. Lefi tikkun, yeah, of course.
Oh, the worms. Okay.
Lefi, just picture that, and then you would have no desire for anything. Lefi tikkun aguf kach mira ta'ava pnimit lemitzima laTorah. So we see when the person is correcting his body, which means he has the brit milah, he has the orlah removed, and he makes sure that he isn't focused on any things he's not supposed to be thinking about. It raises up the thirst on the inside for Torah and mitzvot. And when a person removes the orlah, that's what allows the exposure of the inner, the pnimiyut, which is the secret, the sod. Thirst is in the nefesh, which is the lowest. And the kritat, the removing the orlah, changed the tzimaon to the bad desires. The tzama lecha nafshi le'el chai, so that a person should have thirst for the el chai. What's el chai? Yesod. Tzama nafshi le'el chai. We had, that's one of the mizmorim we read before the holidays. Lekabel or haneshama v'chiyut elyona betocho, to receive the or from the neshama, the shine from the neshama, which is the binah, right? And chiyut elyona betocho, and the survival, the life that is inside after. And that's why, let's think about this. We're going to read shortly about the man, 2 parashot from now. Why did the Jewish people not like the man?
I didn't know they didn't like it. If they can think of it.
They called it lechem hakilokel.
That's till later.
Okay.
They call that in Deuteronomy.
Why didn't they? What was it? What was the problem with the man? This is wild. When you're going to hear this,
It didn't feel.
I heard this the first.
It didn't. Wasn't normal to them. It didn't feel like normal food where they would.
It took away their ta'ava. It took away their ta'ava. The man, unlike lechem min haaretz, is lechem min hashamayim. That's what the man is called. Lechem min hashamayim. So since it's lechem min hashamayim, it's the food that takes away the ta'ava, takes away the desire. So they didn't have desire. What'd they eat for 40 years? Man. Right? What happened when they complained about the man in Parashat Behalotecha? Right? What happened? God sent them the slav. And what happened with the slav?
They ate too much.
Hitavu ta'ava.
The desire came back, but they overdid it.
And that's the beginning. And if you think about that, is the beginning of the trouble. We go from the Slav, then Miriam speaks Lashon Hara against her brother. Then we have the Meraglim, and then we have one after another, boom, boom, boom. Because the man, they lost the idea of the man, which is it took away the ta'ava, took away the desire. Once the desires are not there, then a person connects with God. Why they complain? Because some people like to be. Some people like temptation. Some people like that desire.
They're like a general.
They're going to be very bored in the resurrection. I'll tell you that. Because the thing about the resurrection is there's really no desire except to connect to God. You eat food, just lahit aneg, just have like oneg. Okay, but there's no desire. Yes. Already satiated. That's correct. You're satiated with the Torah.
So
very good. 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 This is your stuff. I could say this is where you're living. This is good stuff. That means you have a very high soul. People can appreciate this type of study. First of all, it's nothing like it. I can go all day. You want to stop at 5 o'clock? We can do RB2 also. This is just wow. Okay. Let's do one more. Yes? All right. Brit halashon hu soda Torah shenimshicha min habina. That's going to be a good one. So we see the brit of the lashon, which is the covenant of the tongue, is the sod of the Torah that is drawn from the bina. Yes? Yes? Okay. Hit ba'er shebrit halashon hu zivug chokhmah ubina. The brit of the lashon is the zivug, is the connection, is the intimacy between chokhmah and bina. Shemisham nitna Torah mipi hagvura. And from there the Torah is given. What is mipi hagvura? What's the sphira?
Oh, sorry. Right above.
Right below on the left of Bina. Gvura. Mipi hagvura, from the mouth of the Gvura. That's the Bina. Right? Mipi hagvura, the Gvura is the sphira. What's right above the sphira Gvura in the line? Right? In the line is the Bina. That's the left. That's on the next one on the left. That's up is the Bina. Kmo shekatav hagra b'tzafra l'ditznuta. The gra in the safra d'tznuta, by the way, is basically like 3 or 4 pages in the Zohar. It's like a very short piece of Zohar, and the gra has a whole perush over there.
Perush on that section.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Hitba'er shebrit halashon hu zivug chokhmah ubina. I'm sorry, we said that right. The abba ve'ima lo mashkichin apin de beapin and aban ima are not apin beapin, right? Shehu sod zivug, right? Lo mashkichin, la mashkichin. They're not. Besod panim befanim diber Hashem imachem shehu zivug abba ve'ima shemisham nitna Torah. What's he saying here? They are not found apin beapin, lo
They're found face to
mashkichin,
face.
face to face, which is the sort of the zivug, because in order to have zivug, a person is supposed to be face to face, right? Not supposed to be like animals, which do it from the behind, all that kind of stuff, right? Human being does it face to face, okay? Besod panim befanim diber Hashem imachem. In the sort of panim bepanim, Hashem spoke to us face to face. That's the concept of the zivug once again, yes? Shu zivug abba ve'ima. It's the zivug of the abba, which is the chokhmah and the binah, right? Shemisham nitna Torah. From there, the Torah is given. Yod dibrot. 10 dibrot. 10 sayings. Why dibrot? Mipiha gvura.
What's that have to do with daber?
Vaidaber. What is vaidaber?
Harsh speak.
That's harsh. That's gvura.
Oh, okay.
Vayomer is rachamim. Vaidaber Elohim El Moshe Vayomer Elav Aniyut Kevavke. That's the pasuk we read by Orah, right? Right? Vayomer Vaidaber Elohim Dibur Kashod Kashed Tough Elohim Din Givura, right? Vayomer, right? So we understand when God spoke to Moses, Vaidaber, which is harsh. Vayomer is soft. Why do we have that lashon in the Torah so much? Vaidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor.
Some are for the men, some are for the women.
That's right. Dibur is for the men. Vayomer is for the ladies. Okay. Dibrot, mipia gvura. That's why it's dibrot, which is kasher. What does it say in the Aseret HaDibrot? Vaidaber Elohim et kol hadvarim ha'ele lemor anochi amonai elokecha. That's how the Aseret HaDibrot start. Vaidaber Elohim mipi hagvura. Fact checking me?
No.
It's okay. I don't mind. Find it? Exodus 20, chapter 1. Exodus 20, verse 1.
Okay, lemor, yeah. So, but there's lemor at the end.
Okay, but it starts off with mipi hagvura. God wanted to create the world with din, and he realized the world could not exist with din, so he mixed in it rachamim. Ele tolodot hashamayim v'haaretz v'hi bar'am b'yom boro Adonai Elohim eretz v'shamayim. Right? So all of Breshit is Elokim. We get to man. We get to after the, when you talk about the, the beginning of man, what does it say? Ele tolodot hashamayim v'haaretz v'hi bar'am. Biyom bero Adonai Rachamim Elohim Din Eretz Shamayim. So we see from here that's the first time we see the word Yud Kevavke mentioned. Why? Because that's when he's mixing in the Rachamim. When it comes time for man, you need Rachamim, because if it's just Din, we're in a lot of trouble. By the way, in the Tchiat Tametim, it's only Din. There's no Rachamim. No need. That's exactly right. No need. Very good. That's right. There's no need for mercy. There's no off the reservation. Wow, very good, very good. But there is one mistake you can make even in Tchiat Tametim, going outside your border. Man's got to know his limitations. You go out of your border, person goes out of the border, it's a very harsh situation. Yeah, you fall.
As a king, you have to respect him.
And you have to know your limitations. Because when you and especially when you're dealing with sod, how does a person study sod? A person has to know the limitations. If they're studying something and they don't understand it, that's very dangerous. Why?
A few weeks ago, even the king, he wraps the tefillin and he reminds himself, "I'm just."
Sefer Torah. Sefer Torah. He has the Sefer Torah with him all the time, right? King has to have two Sefer Torah. One that everybody else has to have, and one the king has to have. A karabah kol yomei chav. He has to read it every single day of his life. Why? Because that's how he reminds himself he's just a man. He's under the Torah. It's amazing. Okay, but in the resurrection, there's no Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is dead. There's no Satan. There's no Malach HaMavet. Right? So what happens? But the person themselves can lose sight of their limitation, right? And that's also what makes studying Kabbalah dangerous. If a person sees something and they don't understand it, you have to say to yourself, there's something wrong with me that I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And maybe Hashem should open my eyes and help me to see it, because right now I don't see it, right? Then a person's okay. When he says, no, there's something wrong with that, that doesn't make any sense. That's the problem. Then you get yourself into deep water. Okay? So it's continuing on. Zivug abba ve'imam misham nitna Torah, yud dibrot ve'he chumshe Torah. 5 chumashim. Shesod zivugam hu sod nishuk. The zivug between Abba and Ima is the secret of nishuk, what is kissing. Ki yadua, like it's explained. Where? Vehen panim befanim. In order to kiss, you have to be face to face. There's no kissing not face to face. Besod pe el pe adaber bo. And another place. Yishakenim eneshikot pihu. When we're singing that and we want to be kissed by God, what does that mean? It's face to face. What is the death of the tzaddikim called?
The face of the tzaddikim.
The death of the tzaddikim.
Sam.
Vayamot Moshe al pi Hashem.
Oh, not the kiss from the Samech Mem, but a kiss from Hashem direct.
Exactly. Which means only Rishaim, the Samach Mem takes them. Right? Only Rishaim. Okay? The Tzaddikim, they die by Nishika, which is a kiss. The kiss is, come to me.
Wow.
You worked very hard. Now it's time to get your reward. Come to me. I'm going to give you a kiss. And that's the kiss that brings the person to the next world. Okay?
So true.
Wow. Okay. We understand in this world, without relations, without intimacy, there is no birth of children. When we see there are 2 types of relations. In the partsufim of the Atzilut. That is done by the Yesod. Hazivug ha'elyon, shehu zivug nishikin. The zivug elyon is nishikin. Nishikin is between Abba ve'Ima. Shehu chibur rucha berucha. What is this? Why is a kiss? What's going on in a kiss? Oh, that's good stuff.
Ruach into ruach.
Meaning, when 2 people are kissing each other, and especially if they're kissing each other for a long time, like 2 people who are in love, they still have to breathe. And when they breathe, what are they doing?
Breathing out their nose.
They're breathing out their nose, and the other person's breathing in that person's breath and giving back. So it's an intimacy of breath, right? It's not just the touching of the lips together. It's the smelling of each other's nostril, breathing through the nose. What's that called? What's contained within the nose is the neshama. You're smelling the neshama of the person.
You do the neshama, the contact is through the nose.
Correct.
Havdalah.
Vayipach be'apav nishmat Elohim. Right? So the neshama is in the chotem, is the nose. And when 2 people are kissing, especially if they're kissing for not just a short one, but a long one, they're breathing. And each one is inhaling the other, and the kiss closes the mouth. So they're not inhaling breath from the mouth, they're inhaling breath from the nose. Exactly. Okay. So we see from here, that's what a nishikot pihu, right? We see over here, this is the concept of rucha berucha, ruach and ruach. V'hu ruchani v'toldotav hem ruchaniyim, and therefore that's ruchani because it's physical, but it's very low level. Not low level, but it's minimal because it's wind. Wind is like the lowest, right? Mizivug zeh yotzim hamalachim ve'atorah kedusha, and from this zivug comes the malachim and the Torah kedusha. From the zivug of Abba ve'Ima comes the malachim, the angels, and the Torah and the Torah kedusha. Zivug hatachton, what's the zivug tachton? Who zivug gufani v'toldotav gufaniyim. And when the lower zivug is between the kucha brechush chitei, or the tiferet and the malchut. That brings physical. Shel binyan ha'adam ve'haolam. That's the creation of Adam and the world. K'mo shekatav ha'Gra b'tikunei Zohar, like the Gra wrote in the Tikunei Zohar, Daf Mem Zayin. V'hem brit ha'lashon ve'ha'ma'or. That's the two brit we just talked about, the lashon and the ma'or. Sheshnehem hem da'at ha'molid. Both of them are the da'at of the molid. Da'at, intimacy, that causes there to be the next generation.
Or speech, or giving over speech, giving over
Which
ideas.
is, exactly. Ela shezem molid begufani. This one is giving birth. This one is giving a birth of physical. Hazera shu gufani molid gufani. The zera, the seed, which gives birth to physical existence. The dibur hu ruchani, and the dibur is ruchani. Molid ruchani gives birth to ruchani, spiritual. Upeh umila ushnehem sharim. And the peh and the milah, both the mouth and the milah, are both gates. It's a hole, open, closed.
Okay, but the word?
Sha'ar. No, the peh is a sha'ar. The milah is a sha'ar.
What is milah? The
Brit
word-
milah, circumcision.
Oh, milah. I thought you said milah, like
No,
word
no.
milah.
We're
Okay,
not
okay,
the
so
word
it's-
milah here. We're
okay,
using.
okay.
That's cute. Again, if you look at biblical Hebrew, is the word milah used to denote a word?
No, it's milot.
Yes.
And you said that on Shabbat, and you were like, guys, for all the modern Hebrew speakers, wake up. Milot.
Milot. Okay, very good. All right. Shehem nikuvim. What is it for a sha'ar? What do you require for a gate? It has to have a opening. If there's no opening, how can it be a sha'ar? You can't pass through. The niftachim lotzi dibur v'zera, and they open up to give over speech and seed. The chushbanam had, and their thoughts is one. Ushneim hem brit, and they're both brit. Ooh, no, not chushbanam. They're cheshbon.
Numerical value.
What's the gematria of peh? What's the gematria of milah? It's amazing. Trust me, to say 85. Did you get that? Milah and peh is the same gematria, 85. Okay? K'mo shekatav b'sefer Yetzirah, and it's written in Sefer Yetzirah. V'hem brita Torah ve'amilah. So we see this the same gematria, 85. Ukmo shezeh patoach leotzi Torah, just like the mouth is open to give over Torah. Ken zel leholid banim. This is for the giving of children. Ushnehem siuma, and they're both ends. Zeh siuma deresha. The mouth is the end of the head. Zeh siuma degufa.
It's the
And
highest point, the apex of the body.
And the
most
Brit
outside.
milah is the sium of the goof, is the end of the goof. Kolim komash elamala, and they include everything above, the end of the goof.
The nose is past the mouth.
Okay, it's not
Okay,
talking
no,
about. It's
so-
not talking about end that way. It's talking about as far as the sfirot is concerned. The
Alone,
mouth
okay,
is
okay.
malchut peh sheba'al peh. So therefore,
See,
the
I'm
lowest of
questioning
sfirah
the-
is the mouth, which is peh sheba'al peh, which is peh. That's the malchut, right?
And then,
And then the
chest,
milah,
your thighs.
the end of the milah is the malchut. So that's the end. So both of them represent the siyum, the end. Not necessarily physically manifesting in the end, but they're the end part in the komata adam. With me? One more paragraph, and then we'll be all done. Massive. The zivug shall peh el peh nikra neshika, and the zivug of peh el peh, when mouth to mouth, is called neshika. K'mo shekatav od hagra behechalot bereshit, like the Gaon of Vilna wrote in Hechalot, another section of the Zohar. Hechalot. Bereshit daf kaf. V'chen neshika migodel ahava kol haruchin. The neshika is from the greatness of love of all of the spiritual. Shebechol evarin nimshachin acharei ruach hapeh b'davkuta acharav, and all the limbs follow after the ruach of the peh b'davkuta. I'm not sure what he means by that. K'mo Yisrael etzel Har Sinai, like the Jewish people when they're in Har Sinai. Nafshi yatzea b'dabero. What does it mean, nafshi yatsa b'dabero? When God spoke, they died. They died. The nefesh left.
Wow.
Why did the nefesh leave? Why did they die when they heard God speak?
They were now like in a state of shemayim. They couldn't have been in their body, which was they had the desire and whatnot. When Hashem speaks, you're only in this perfect state.
So therefore, what happens in that situation? The soul wants more than anything else to go and connect to God, especially if God is giving neshika. What is a neshika? That's how the tzaddikim die, right? So since God came and Kavyachol gave them a kiss by giving them the Aseret HaDibrot and speaking, the neshama was ready to die. That's called death of the righteous. And they were righteous. Why? Because they said Naaseh v'nishma. In that situation, there was no more death. So therefore, they were righteous. So as soon as God came pale peh, spoke to them pale peh, and they were tzaddikim, that's a signal that tzaddik, it's time to leave the world. It's time to die. It's called a neshika. Yes? Besod yishakeni, it's exactly what he's saying. Besod yishakeni mineshikot piyu, which means nafshi yatzah b'dabero, my soul left with his speaking, in the secret of yishakeni mineshikot piyu, because he was kissing, and that's the death of the tzaddikim. Shehu keshemit galel lenishmata davar shelo hurgal bo, when the neshama is revealed something that it's not used to seeing, that causes it to want to leave. Ayen Sham Barucha. Look there in more detail. The Gilui HaTorah b'Ma'amad Har Sinai, in the revelation of the Torah on Har Sinai, Nikra Yishakeni Beneshikot Pihu. That is called the kissing with the kissing of my lips. That's called Matan Torah. Now you wonder why the Goyim are jealous. What did it say? When God gave the Torah on Sinai, the Sinai came to the world. Why did Sinai come to the world? Because they're jealous that God doesn't kiss them. Sorry. Like it's explained in the Nefesh HaChaim. Katuv Isha Keni Mineshikot Piyu. It says in Shir HaShirim, kiss me with the kiss of your lips. Sheba'et b'ma'amad ha'mekudash, at the time of Ma'amad, the holy standing on the mountain. Zachu kulam she'aya chofef umeir alehem ziv notzotzi zohar bechinat neshama. They all have the zchut chofef. What is chofef? Hovering over, right? Umeir alehem, and shining on them. Ziv. What ziv? Shine. What ziv?
Spiritual shine.
Nitzotzi, sparks, right? Zohar. What's all that? Ziv, Zohar.
Shining.
Bina. Bechinat neshama. That's the bina. Why? The maskilim yazhiru kizohar harakia. The name of the Zohar is called the Zohar. Why? Because of this pasuk in Daniel. Hamaskilim. It's not talking about the haskalah, I promise you. It's talking about those who are wise, those who are intelligent. Yazhiru will shine kizohar harakia. The rakia doesn't shine. Rakia? The firmament shines? There's a light source in the firmament? No. It's reflecting off what's above, which is the Chokhmah, which is the Ein Sof. The next up, Keter Ein Sof. So the Zohar is representing what? The Sod, not the Peshat. That's called Sefer Zohar. And that's why the Sefer Zohar is the key to the redemption. Why is it the key to the redemption? First of all, we have to get our Yirat Shamayim much, much better. And the best way to get a quick injection of Yirat Shamayim is to study Kabbalah. On top of that, we have to also learn to have more simcha in life. And what gives a person ultimate simcha? Why? What about the Torah brings simcha? Okay. I'll give you the analogy in this world and you'll understand it in the spiritual world. Okay? Come on, please. says over here, וידבר אדוני משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל לאמור אישה כי תזריע וילדה זכר וטמאה 7 ימים כי מנידת דבותה תטמא. Next pasuk. וביום השמיני ימול בשר עורלתו, which means God spoke to Moses saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when a woman gives forth seed and a boy is born, she is impure blood. Her blood is impure for 7 days, like the time of her menstrual cycle. And on the 8th day, you will circumcise him. And now the Torah goes back. ושלושים יום ושלושת ימים תשב ודמי טהרה בכל קודש לא תיגע ולמקדש לא תבוא עד מלאת ימי טהרה. And for 33 days afterwards she sits in blood of purity, which means this blood of purity vis-a-vis her husband, as far as the Torah is concerned. Nowadays we don't do this. She can have relations with her husband from day number 8. Right? But she can't go to the mikdash and she can't touch any kodesh because it's sort of like a quasi. It's dmei tahor. It's still blood, but it's tahor vis-a-vis her husband. Why is this pasuk here by Yom HaSheminim or Basar Lato? What does it have to do with anything here? It's talking about the woman.
They need to be happy before the grape.
So this idea, why does God say on the 8th day, why is a woman only tme'ah for 7 days for a boy and for a girl 14? Because girls are bad? Chas v'shalom. The boy should have also been 14. Should have been 14. But what happens? He's got to have a Brit Milah on the 8th day. And it can't be, the Talmud says, that everybody else is happy at the Brit Milah.
But the husband and
wife are not happy. Now, why are the father and mother not happy? Because they can't have relations. So you see, the ultimate simcha comes from relations. What is the greatest simcha for a person? I mean, having a good relationship with your wife, that is a lot of simcha there, because I tell you something, not having a good relationship with your wife is a lot of sorrow and a lot of trouble, okay? So having a good relationship with your wife, an intimate relation, close relationship, brings a person a lot of simcha. That's why my rabbi, I asked once a rabbi, where there were congregation was firing rabbis over and over again. I said, Rabbi, what's the problem here? What's going on? He says the 2 blemishes they have when they fire rabbis. Blemish number 1 is they're not careful enough in Tarat Mishpacha. They don't understand the halachot of family purity. And number 2, Shalom Bayit. He said, give classes in Shalom Bayit, give classes in Tarat Mishpacha, and that will fix the situation. Why? Because a person's happy at home, he doesn't come to the synagogue and put his laundry out here. When a person's miserable at home, he comes to the synagogue and lays out all his laundry over there in the boys' club. That's what goes on. That is classic. Right?
So if it's a problem,
1 second. So we see the concept. That's always a problem in the shul. We see from here what? The zivug is what brings the simcha. The Talmud says they can't be happy, even though it's a brit milah of their son. They're not going to be as happy. Why? Because they didn't have relations the night before. Therefore, the Torah says she's only impure for 7 days so they can have relations before the brit milah. The ultimate, yes, not now. Now this is not the halacha, but this is the halacha of the Torah. Now coming back, what is the most important intimate relationship we have? It's not your wife. God. And connection to God, intimate connection to God is what brings simcha. If a person doesn't have an intimate connection with God, they are not sameach. And if they are sameach, it's called simcha holelut. They're sameach because they're dancing to lousy music or they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. That's leit sanut. That's a clown. A person who has true happiness on the inside, it's because he's connected to God. And what connects a person, what Torah connects a person to God better than any other Torah?
Intimate Torah.
Kabbalah. Because you don't share secrets with someone you are not intimate with. So if a person is able to absorb the secrets of the Torah, they have an intimate relationship with the author of the Torah, God. A person who doesn't want to get involved in the secrets of the Torah, which means they're very happy with a superficial relationship, even if they're experts in the Talmud, superficial relationship, because they don't want to get to the depth. The depth is the sod. And that's the neshika. That's the kissing. That's the closeness. Okay? Represented by the husband and wife, represented by the relationship between God and the Jewish people. Almost finished. One more time. Okay, 1 second. Chofef umeir alem ziv nitzotze zohar bechinat neshama. You hear that? That's all bina. Menishmat piv yitbarach kavyachol. Almost like from the mouth of God. It says mipi hagvura. That's the language it uses. We got the Torah from the mouth of the Givurah. It's using kavyachol mouth. Dehu sod haketarim. Oh, wow, 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 wow. And this is the secret of the crowns. What are the crowns? Chokhmah and Binah.
Oh, because they got two each.
Two crowns. One is Chokhmah, one is Binah.
That's the one we had in the
Shezachu b'Sinai. And when they have the crowns, that's nitzchiyut, because they're connecting to the Binah, which is life. Got it? And when they lost the crowns, that's why they mourned, because that was death coming back to the world. The kavanah, we're still going deeper now. Shebapeh yesh koach miyuchad shel holada. With the mouth, there's a unique property of the mouth to give birth. The Amru Chazal, let's see what they say. Veshinantam levanecha elu talmidim. Oh, I know what he's going to say. I know what he's going to say. What does he mean?
Like not Av and Ben, but teacher and student.
Teacher and student. So a rabbi that has students, they are his children.
Because he's giving over.
Exactly. So we see that through the peh, I can take a person who's not my son, and now he's my son.
Teaching him halachot, teaching him.
Yes.
Not your blood, but
Yes, spiritual. And the peh, of course, is spiritual, not physical. There's a physical son that comes from the loins. There's a spiritual son that comes from the mouth through teaching Torah. Veshinantam levanecha. Those are your talmidim. Those are your students. Doesn't have to be your only sons. You're obligated to teach your students as well. And your students are like your children. Wow. And through the rabbi who's giving over the Torah, what happens? From his mouth is coming the Ruach Hayim, the spirit of life of the Rav, yes, into the Talmud, because the Talmud is going in, and it lifts up his neshama, makes his neshama bigger. Because the more Torah I have, the more the neshama is. V'chen hagilui shel matan. V'chen hagilui shel matan Torah. What's the revelation of matan Torah? Hayasha kiblu mi peh ha'elyon. Who was the Rebbe on Har Sinai? God. Unlike in the rest of the Torah, the Rebbe was Moshe Rabbeinu. At Har Sinai, the Rebbe was God.
That was the ultimate shear. It was a wedding. It was a shear.
And we're getting Ruach Hayim from the Master of the universe. Neshika. That's what it means, neshika. Tosefet atzuma, a massive addition. Shel ha'arat neshama, tremendous neshama. Mipiv yitbarach, from his mouth. Ad shemamash parcha nishmatam. Now we understand why their souls left. We also understand why they came back. Why'd they come back? They had the keter. You can't die.
they're immoral.
Yes. So they died and came back. Wow.
Until we lost the Keter.
Until we did Chet Egel, that's correct. Okay, Mipi Elyon shel Bina. Okay, he's going to say this right out. V'chen Gilui shel Matan Torah haya shekiblu Mipi Elyon shel Habina. Once again, the Bina. He said Ziv, Zohar, Bina. Nishika, kiss. Shehi chibur rucha b'rucha, which is the connection of spirit to spirit. Tosefet atzuma shel ha'arat neshama, tremendous shine of the neshama. Mipivit barach, from his mouth kavyachol. Ad shemamash parcha nishmatan, until really their souls left them. Me'omek haneshika, from the greatness, from the depth of the kiss. Ve'achibur elav, and the attachment to him. It was such an amazing attachment, they couldn't withstand it. And from this they understood the depths of the Torah. Benishmat Shaddai tevinem. With the neshama of Shaddai, he gave them bina. What's it? Tevinem, from the bina. Wow. 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 Wow.
No secrets is through Kabbalah, which makes it the most intimate relationship.
That's correct. It's called Still Secrets. Heavy, huh?
Best stuff in the world.
This is amazing. This is incredible. All right, I gotta think about this for mincha, because I have to come off the fifth heaven over here. All right, we'll stop here. Baruch Adonai leolam, amen ve'amen. Oh my gosh.